I'm Eric Michelson, Administrator of the county's Watershed Protection and Restoration Program. We're in Laurel here behind the Corridor Marketplace, one of the commercial complexes out off 198. We are at the site of a recently retrofitted stormwater management facility. Prior to the work that was done here, this was a large, what's called a dry pond, basically designed simply for flood control. And it's been retrofitted as part of our full delivery of water quality improvements project with a OPTI, continuous monitoring and adaptive control system, which allows the outflow of the water from this pond to be metered out based upon weather predictions and the current conditions in terms of how much water is in the facility. You can see on the far embankment there's actually a little solar panel. That's the brains of the operation. Essentially, it controls the valve that lets water out of this pond in a controlled fashion based upon the amount of water that's in the facility and the rain that's predicted. Right now, the facility is about half full as a result of all the rain that we got last week, but will eventually draw down to quite a bit further after the rains pass. It's preparing itself for the rain that we're getting, or we're looking to get this afternoon as well. But it represents a really innovative technology, the first of its kind project in the county, and one that we're very excited to see get into the ground.
My name is Chris Phipps. I'm the Director of Public Works for Anne Arundel County, and it's my pleasure to kick off a ribbon cutting here for this is a groundbreaking project for us in Anne Arundel County, where we forged the forces of the government and the private sector to really put together, I think, a complete package of an extremely historic program to deliver nutrient reductions in our stormwater management program. So with that, I just want to before I hand it over to our county executive, I did want to make just a comment that it was 3 years ago when the county executive made the basic challenge to the Department of Public Works to find more economical, efficient ways to deliver these projects at the lowest cost available, and utilizing the private sector, leveraging the efficiencies and cost savings that could be provided through the private sector in conjunction with the government. So we took that to heart, and Eric Michelson, who's the watershed administrator, really came up with an exciting, groundbreaking idea and initiative that's really first in the state, maybe in the United States, whereby we've challenged the private sector to deliver at the highest efficiencies for a fixed dollar amount, and basically bring their innovation and creativity to the table to deliver a project. And I think some of the speakers will have some details on what we're providing, but it's truly something that this county should be proud of. And it was through the county executive's leadership that created this challenge and really brought the forces of private sector and government together. So with that, no further delay, I want to just introduce our county executive, Steve Shue.
Thank you, Chris. See if that microphone will cooperate. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's a beautiful day, at least for the time being. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last, but enjoy it while it does. I am delighted to be here with two of our key leaders in the Department of Public Works. Chris Phipps is the director of DPW. He does a tremendous job. And the individual that runs all of our waterway restoration programs, Eric Michelson, is here as well. I really appreciate all the work they do throughout the year. And while I'm acknowledging folks, let me also give a shout out to our various partners for this particular project. Attending from RES will be Elliot Bullion. He's the CEO of the company. He'll be speaking shortly. Taylor Simon, William Weaver, Joey Monheit, and Gay Denley. Thank you for your efforts. From our engineers, AECOM will be the following: Umar Shahid and Davin Oswald. And then from OPTI, the technology firm, the brains behind all this, Marcus Quigley, CEO. You'll also be hearing from him shortly. And Joel Cervelloni. That's tough. I should be able to say that because I'm half Italian. Our administration is committed to securing a bright future for our most precious natural asset, the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. Anne Arundel County has 530 miles of tidal shoreline, more than any other jurisdiction. We are the water people. We are the guardians of the bay, and we take that responsibility seriously. It's crucial that we continue to focus on managing stormwater and its effects on our waterways. There's no better illustration of the need to properly manage stormwater than the major storm events of the last few days and weeks and the release of water from the Conowingo Dam. That release has been a disaster. Beaches, anchorages, marinas, wetlands, all trashed because of poor stormwater management. It will take weeks to clean it all up, and that's just what we can see along the beaches and the waterfronts. The impact on the sea bottom, we may never know. In recognition of the importance of managing stormwater runoff, we've launched the largest waterway cleanup effort in county history. In just the last three years, we've initiated over 170 projects pertaining to water quality, with over 100 of them now completed at a cost of $84 million. Those investments have bolstered our existing stormwater infrastructure, resulting in the repair or replacement of 450 storm drains and culverts, a tenfold increase in our implementation rate some years ago at prior funding levels. Our 2019 capital budget calls for continuing historic investments in waterway cleanup, aggregating nearly $190 million over 130 different projects over the next 6 years. So we are making progress. The bay today is cleaner than it has ever been since the 1940s, based on the Chesapeake Bay Foundation report card. That is extraordinary, and I love sharing that statistic with people. But we still have a long way to go. We're increasing our already substantial general fund commitment to waterway cleanup. We're working with the state and federal governments to identify alternative funding sources. We are also working with the state and federal authorities to pursue more reasonable deadlines. And finally, we began 2 years ago pursuing a comprehensive public-private partnership, or P3, program to clean up our waterways. That's why we're here today. I'm pleased to announce a huge milestone in our P3 program with the completion of our first project, which you see behind me here today. This retrofit of the stormwater pond, owned and maintained by AJ&C Garfunkel in Laurel, is the first project in the county to utilize cutting-edge technology to help control flooding and to reduce pollution. RES, in conjunction with technology firm Opti, have installed a continuous monitoring and adaptive control system, or CMAC, that will allow water levels in the pond to rise safely during rain events to store, retain, and treat stormwater on site. This CMAC drainage system proactively monitors weather forecasts and actuates drainage valves to minimize flooding and runoff. It's pretty amazing. And as we've seen over the last 2 weeks, that kind of technology could prevent a lot of damage to the bay and its tributaries. In our most recent budget, we proposed and the council approved $4 million in funding for stormwater projects designed and constructed in partnership with the private sector. A request for a proposal for this funding will be issued in the next few weeks. We believe this particular stormwater project will be just the beginning of an innovative partnership with the private sector and create a cleaner future for the next generation of citizens of Anne Arundel County. These P3 projects are a force multiplier for our robust stormwater program that will make a dollar go farther and help us meet our deadlines in a cost-effective and efficient way. While progress can sometimes be slow, I do believe we've turned a corner. Each day, these projects are advancing to make our waterways stronger. I want to take a minute to thank everyone who helped this project come to reality, including Rob Fish and Eric Michelson once again and their working teams. And I want to reaffirm that our administration is committed to doing everything we can do to conserve, protect, and improve the more than 530 miles of tidal shoreline here in Anne Arundel County. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, County Executive. And one note I would like to make is I've worked for under several county executives, and never one has been as keenly aware of the details and the technology behind what we do. It's truly refreshing. The county executive, he does understand this stuff, and so when he's done with his political career, I'm sure he could work for the watershed restoration program. So next I'd like to bring up and introduce Elliot Bullion. He's the CEO of RES, the construction company.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'd really want to commend the innovation that's going on here and how really the public sector has reached out to work with the private sector. Something very unique, very innovative. And we're focused, RES is focused on restoration, ecological restoration, and water resource management. And we spend our time trying to clean water and help people throughout our nation clean water. We've got operations right here in Maryland. We have our construction crews, our biologists and scientists here working closely with the public sector, trying to help them get these projects through, get them in place, and more importantly, try to monitor and understand how we've been able to improve things and continue that innovation. So I want to thank Anne Arundel County, the citizens here, especially Commissioner and all for his leadership and all the folks involved in the Stormwater project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bullion. So next I'd like to introduce and ask to make a few remarks is Marcus Quigley, the CEO of Opti. That's the technology behind this infrastructure. Marcus?
Great, thank you very much. We're just really pleased to be here today to have this project up and running. I think one of the things you can actually see us behind us is this pond is actively working at this minute to improve water quality and reduce flood impacts downstream. And this wasn't the case just several months ago. The unique partnership that's been described between the private sector and the public sector is really what got us here today. And its leadership specifically, I think the county executive actually described the technology incredibly well, which speaks very well of the county's ability to leverage these positions, these opportunities we have to really get outcomes for the community. And Eric's leadership in particular on seeing this combination of technology and opportunity to solve a problem that is intractable from a fiscal perspective, as we heard, in new ways. And we're just really proud to be here today. And we look forward to working more with the county to do additional work to ultimately improve the quality for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. And one comment too, we haven't really focused on it, but where we're standing right now, this pond behind us looks no different than any public pond that would be otherwise in Public Works' inventory of infrastructure. But in fact, it's a privately owned pond, owned and maintained by the shopping center here. And they're a partner in this project too, so we were able to leverage their infrastructure because there's, countless numbers of private what we call BMPs, best management practices, ponds, et cetera, that on top of the county's maintained and owned ponds. So bringing the private sector into the solution was a critical component. And perhaps someone else, I want to close with, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Eric Michelson to step forward and have a few comments, and maybe he can share with us some of the fiscal efficiencies, financial efficiencies we're seeing in delivering this, what we call the pollutant load or impervious area treatment reduction as part of our program. Eric?
Thanks, Chris. First, I'd like to thank the county executive for his support for this idea conceptually. Again, without having that leadership at the top, it would have been very difficult to undertake innovative procurement that we did for this in terms of our full delivery RFP, and that support was invaluable in terms of getting this off the ground. I also would like to both thank him and the council for the continued financial support of the watershed program. As you described, it is a fairly significant investment on the part of the taxpayers of Anne Arundel County, and we take the stewardship of those dollars very seriously. In terms of the project that has been implemented here, again, we had gone into our initial solicitation with the expectation that we were going to be paying sort of the going rate, the going market rate for implementation of this work. What ended up happening as a result of this initial solicitation was we were able to come in about 40% of the going market rate to have this stormwater restoration work done, which just blew us away. That was a combination of the efficiencies of the private sector being able to do some of the work that would have been more intensive for us to undertake, as well as the movement of a new innovative technology into this space. And so we were very excited by that. We've been really excited by the subsequent iterations of the solicitations that we've done as well. And we look forward to having additional opportunities to get the private sector involved, to work with our business partners, our private sector partners, to do this as efficiently as possible to meet Anne Arundel County stormwater needs and to clean up our critical waterways. So thank you.